Hello dear students, welcome to lesson number 6, and today we're going to look at bar chart compare charts. So in this lesson we're going to, for the first time, make use of all the language and sentence structures and the ways to add statistics which we learned in lesson number 3. If you haven't watched lesson number 3 yet, please go and watch. Lesson number 2 and 3 are kind of building blocks for what's going to come next. So make sure that you watched those videos very carefully and completed exercises in your book. So in today's lesson, we're going to learn how to write an overview for a compare bar chart, how to select key features for compare bar chart, how to make comparisons, and also how to group information in a logical way. As usual, what we're going to do, we're going to look at an essay question. So we now have division of household tasks by gender in Great Britain. So there are 2 genders and there are 6 types of household tasks, and this is showing minutes per person per day. So always you want to quickly learn what the chart is showing. So there are 6 types of household tasks, and how much time each gender is spending per day is shown in the form of a bar chart. As you can see, there is no year at all. So if the bar chart doesn't have a year at all, if it has only 1 year, it's going to be a compare chart. So as usual, we're gonna be planning. So correct planning is really important. So we just plan our task 1 bar chart in the following way. You're gonna look at the main differences or anything that stands out. If you remember, the very first thing we did in lesson number 3 was to logically group items that seem unrelated to each other, and we looked at 4 types of things: capital cities in Central Asia and Europe, or like new non-renewable energy and renewable energy, so new media and old media. I hope you remember those things, and you're going to make use of the same kind of learning and apply them here in this lesson. And of course you have to think about how you're going to group your information, and you have to put them in a logical order. So what we want to do, we will look at individual items and we will try to see the connection between those items in our chart. So we not only compare and we try to group them logically while trying to look at individual groups that we have. So let's look at cooking and baking and washing up. Obviously there are women dominating. Women spending more time on this type of household tasks, and then cleaning and house tidying the same, then gardening and pet. But there are now difference. So men are spending more time there. Then care of own children and play, again women. Maintenance and odd jobs, men. And clothes washing, ironing and sewing, so that's women. So now we have to find the connection between the types of activities where men are more active and the ones where women spending more time. So I want you to pause the video and try to find that connection. I hope you've been able to see the connection. These 4 activities where women spending more time are typical, tasks inside the house. Those usually take place inside the house, various maintenance and gardening. Like we can use one expression, that's maintenance, to maintain something, right? So again, odd jobs and all that is keeping something in good condition. So like we did in our lesson number 3, where we tried to group them logically, we have to do the same. We don't want to individually call out the types of tasks that we have here, but we want to group them by saying that women are spending more time on tasks inside the house, whereas men are spending more time maintaining. And obviously what you can do, you can also compare, because it's a compare chart, compare the total number of minutes that men and women spent. So obviously, because out of 6 activities, women spending more time in 4 of them, so we can say that women are spending much more time than men. But when it comes to grouping, what we could do, we could, put these all 4 in one paragraph where women spending more time, and whereas in the second one we can put the ones where men spending more time. But it will be a little bit in proportional, so in terms of size. So what we want to do, we want to add last one, which is a bit of an outlier, because this is where the least amount of time is spent, so we want to put that with men's jobs. So basically that will be our plan. So women spend much more time than men. Women spend more time doing tasks inside the home, while men are busier doing maintenance. In specific detail paragraph 1, we'll talk about jobs women spend more time. In the second one, jobs men spend more time plus that outlier. So again, with this kind of planning, you should be able to write a good report. So now you have to keep in mind that we cannot write about every number. We have to be very selective when we are telling features. So we only have to report the key features. Also, grouping this way allows us to make comparisons between the items while we are writing them in specific detail paragraph 1 and specific detail paragraph 2. So now let's look at individual paragraphs. The bar chart compares. Now with the compare chart, we better use the verb compare. The average number of minutes per day, we are changing males and females to men and women in Great Britain spend on jobs around the task. So we are changing household tasks to jobs around the house. It should be around the house. So now, when it comes to overview, we're gonna write this. We're gonna start with, as always, with a very general piece of information and finish with something more specific. Overall, women spend much more time doing household tasks than men. Also, the figures show that women spend more time on routine domestic chores inside the house than men, while men do more household maintenance, gardening, and pet care. So we're not simply again telling individual household activities, but rather we are trying to group them logically and trying to see the connection. So what you could do also, you could have added that one very easy piece of general information, which is the highest and the lowest. For example, you could have talked about how cooking, baking, washing up is the most kind of popular activity. That's the activity where women spend the largest number of minutes, whereas gardening would be the one where men spending more time. But I guess these two pieces of information really do the job well. So now in specific detail paragraph 1, we can, as always, use a topic sentence, but your examiner knows, based on the kind of words that you are using, based on your choice of language, can identify what the logic was when grouping. In total, men spend just over 2.5 hours on household tasks. Various is a good one to show contrast. Women spend slightly less than 4 hours. So now we are making use of all the sentence structures that we learned in lesson number 3. So now that we have told the overall number of minutes men and women spent on household tasks, we now start telling the activities where they were, because in this paragraph we are writing the activities where women spend more time, so we are logically going from there. Women spend more than twice as much time doing kitchen tasks such as cooking and washing up as men. And when we are grouping two items with opposite trend, we use as opposed to or compared to. So we put the number X and then as opposed to or compared to, then Y. Do you remember? 74 minutes for women as opposed to 30 minutes for men. So women are more active. Now we are using an adjective instead of verb. Women are more active in cleaning the house. It is referring to cleaning. The 58 minutes of their day compared to minutes for men. So, all right, so for men, it was about 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes for men. All right, شخص ما شده بترقم خوب. بله باش برایم خدتم قیمه. All right. So in specific detail paragraph 1, we're gonna be writing about activities or household tasks where women spend more time compared to men. And because we have to also include the total number of minutes, and obviously women spend more time, so we want to include that piece of information in this paragraph. And we don't necessarily have to start with a topic sentence, because your examiner always can discern your logic by the use of your words. In total, men spend just over 2.5 hours on household tasks, whereas women spend slightly less than 4 hours. So various is a nice contrast that you can use to, and also another one is while. Women spend more than twice as much time doing kitchen tasks, such as cooking and washing up, as men. This was the sentence structure that we learned in lesson number 3. In that same lesson, we learned how to add statistics. When you want to talk about two items with opposite trend, we usually use X as opposed to or compared to then Y. So we're going to do the same. 74 minutes for women as opposed to, I could have used compared to as well, 30 minutes for men. Now we move on to describe another activity. Women are more active in cleaning the house. It takes 58 minutes of their day compared to now, because in the earlier example, in the previous sentence we used as opposed to, now we are using compared to 10 minutes for men. So you could have added these by using just brackets as well. And child care, where women put in more than twice as much time as men. So as you saw, although we have mentioned quite a few items, we are only including 4 numbers, so because these are key features. So in the next paragraph, we want to start with a clear topic sentence which tells the logic to the examiner. So there is a bit of contrast, so I can use in contrast, however, or on the other hand. On the other hand, men are more active in gardening and pet care. So now with this kind of sentence, I'm telling the examiner, so in this paragraph we'll be writing about activities where men spend more time, where they spend twice as long as women, and maintenance and do-it-yourself, on which they spend 14 minutes more than women. We're not just telling the figures, we're telling how many more minutes men spend on this. Women account for almost all this time spent on washing and ironing clothes. This, referring to the ironing and washing, takes them 25 minutes, while men just spend 2 minutes on this task. So obviously the last sentence was an outlier, for this group, because we here should have talked about, the jobs where men spend more time, plus that an outlier, because that was the activity the least number of minutes was spent on. So as you saw in this lesson, what we did, we learned how to, logically organize information. So obviously try to see the connection and try to make a comparison between the items you are writing in your specific detail paragraphs. So now go to your book and try to complete all the exercises and questions given there, and also do a full practice question that shows another compare chart. And I will see you in lesson number 7.